everyone, welcome to Daily Dictation. This is an interactive video that helps you practice your English skills. This week's topic is on describing your home, and it's for high intermediate English speakers. To practice your English, I am going to read 5 sentences, and you should write them down and try your best to apply the correct spelling, punctuation, grammar, and everything. After you write down each sentence, I will show you the answers, the correct form of each sentence that I read, and you can double check what you have written down. I will then give you an overview of some of the grammar and some of the spelling tips to help you improve your skills. Let's get started. Now, this is a skill that is best developed and maintained if you practice every day. So there's new videos from Monday to Friday, new sentences each weekday, new topics each week, and 2 English levels offered. The instructions. You will need a blank piece of paper and a pencil. 5 sentences will be read. Each sentence will be read 3 times and 1 more time at the end. You have to write down each sentence exactly as you hear it. You will use your listening skills to do that. Try your best to apply the correct spelling, punctuation, and capitalization. On the screen, you're going to see numbers 1 to 5. Each number represents a different sentence that will be read. We'll start with sentence number 1. Number 1. My roommate chose some beautiful decor because she wanted to brighten up our shared space. My roommate chose some beautiful decor because she wanted to brighten up our shared space. My roommate chose some beautiful decor because she wanted to brighten up our shared space. Number 2. The rental lease requires us to maintain the utilities. The rental lease requires us to maintain the utilities. The rental lease requires us to maintain the utilities. Number 3. I enjoy the open layout of the living room, and it creates a friendly ambience for the visitors. I enjoy the open layout of the living room, and it creates a friendly ambiance for the visitors. I enjoy the open layout of the living room, and it creates a friendly ambiance for the visitors. Number 4. While the home still has its quaint charm, the recent renovations added modern touches. While the home still has its quaint charm, the recent renovations added modern touches. While the home still has its quaint charm, the recent renovations added modern touches. While the home still has its quaint charm, the recent renovations added modern touches. Number 5. We are discussing a new aesthetic for our shared space, but my roommate has different preferences than me. We are discussing a new aesthetic for our shared space, but my roommate has different preferences than me. We are discussing a new aesthetic for our shared space, but my roommate has different preferences than me. I'm going to read each sentence one more time, starting with sentence number 1. My roommate chose some beautiful decor because she wanted to brighten up our shared space. Number 2. The rental lease requires us to maintain the utilities. Number 3. I enjoy the open layout of the living room, and it creates a friendly ambiance for the visitors. Number 4. While the home still has its quaint charm, the recent renovations added modern touches. Number 5. We are discussing a new aesthetic for our shared space, but my roommate has different preferences than me. All right. That is all of our sentences today. We are going to have a look at what they look like. If you found that this video was too fast, I recommend that you listen again. You can adjust the playback speed to make it go slower. You can also check the description for timestamps, and this will help you listen to specific sentence numbers. Now let's check our answers. Number 1. My roommate chose some beautiful decor because she wanted to brighten up our shared space. So we have a long sentence here, but we don't have any commas. We have one part and another part. Right in the middle here, we have a subordinating conjunction because this tells us that this part is our dependent clause. This part is our independent clause. So, because we have our independent clause first and our dependent clause second, with a coordinating conjunction right in the middle, because it's in this order, we don't need any commas after the word decor. Some other things for spelling. Roommate is one word and is putting together the word room and mate. So there's two M's that we need to remember. Beautiful, that has a lot of vowels in it, so it's sometimes easy to forget some of the vowels. B-E-A-U-T-ful. That's how I split it up to remember all of the vowels. I literally say every one of these vowels in the beginning. Then here, my roommate subject chose is the verb, and beautiful decor is the object of the first clause here. In the dependent clause, she wanted, so this is the subject in the verb, and then we have a infinitive after that. Now for sentence number 2. The rental lease requires us to maintain the utilities. For this one, the rental lease is the subject and it is singular, so there is a third person singular rule on this verb. Us is the object of the sentence, and then we have some more information. Requires us to do what? We have an infinitive to explain what the object is required to do by the rental lease. Utilities is a difficult word because there's so many I's. Utilities, split it up into 3 parts, and that will help you remember all of the I's. Number 3, I enjoy the open layout of the living room and it creates a friendly ambiance for the visitors. So here, We have a coordinating conjunction. So because we have a coordinating conjunction that's telling us that we actually have two independent clauses. So this would be an independent clause, and then this would be an independent clause. And so and is the coordinating conjunction between that. Now, because these clauses are particularly long with many pieces in them, I do recommend putting a comma. Although sometimes when you use and as a coordinating conjunction, you don't need to use a comma. I would recommend it for this sentence since each clause is so long. Layout is difficult to spell. I would recommend practicing it more if you spelt it as two words. It is only one word. However, in a different way, living room is two words, even though it's one room. So that is quite tricky. So remember that this is one word and this is two words. Ambiance is also a tricky word to spell. Ambiance would be a good way to split it up according to the syllable stress. Number 4. While the home still has its quaint charm, the recent renovations added more modern touches. So while we are starting here with a subordinating conjunction right at the beginning, which tells us that we're starting with a dependent clause. There. Okay, so because we're starting with a dependent clause here, we are going to have to add a comma at the end of that clause before the independent clause here starts. So that's our independent clause. So up here for number 1, we don't have a comma because it's independent first, independent second. Down here, we do need a comma because it's dependent first and independent second. So that's the difference. You'll usually have a pretty good idea about when the independent clause starts because you're going to see a subject. In this case, it's the recent renovations. That's our subject. Added is a verb and modern touches is the object. So you're going to clearly have the SVO structure and it's going to come right in the middle. It will look a little bit awkward. So that was going to tell you when that SVO structure starts. Right before that, you're going to need to put a comma. That's a signal that the dependent clause is finished. Other than that, a tricky word to spell, quaint, is not a regular word. However, it's relatively short. You just have to remember all of those vowels in the middle of it. Renovations is a little bit more difficult. You can split it up by renovations if you want. The short form of renovations is reno or renos. So it's easy to split it up like this, but there are other ways to split it up if that's easier for you. So for number 5, we are discussing a new aesthetic for our shared space, but my roommate has different preferences than me. So for this one, we have two independent clauses and a coordinating conjunction right in the middle. So but is our coordinating conjunction. We have an independent clause here and another independent clause here. So because we have a coordinating conjunction that is not and, we must put a comma here to make it more clear. For spelling, aesthetic is a tricky word for spelling. So I would split it up, AES, the tick, because this is usually the trickiest part because it's very uncommon that we have AES like this in English. It's not very common at all, so it is more difficult to remember, but the tick is a little bit easier. Again, to remember, roommate is one word, so there are two M's right beside each other. Then, because we're comparing, we're using then with an A, then with an E is used to spell, it has a time relation. So you can say, I was struggling then, and that talks about a time in the past. So that is a breakdown of some of the grammar that we see in each sentence and some of the ways that you can split up the longer words to make the spelling a little bit more easier and perfect that. These bold words are the words that are high intermediate level or advanced level that are good to know for this topic. I'm going to show you a better list of these words. So the words that we're focusing on this week are roommate, utilities, rental lease, decor, layout, aesthetic, ambience, renovations, and quaint. So make sure you have a good understanding of what these words mean. Know how to use them in your own sentences, whether you're writing or whether you're speaking. Make sure that if you're writing, you know how to spell them and use the different word forms. Because oftentimes this is a topic that does come up in not only day-to-day English, but proficiency exams as well, such as IELTS, TOEFL, PTE, and things like that. So it is really good to know. Besides that, we are all finished for today. Thank you so much for watching. Keep on doing the best you can, and I'll see you next time. Bye.